Hello, everyone. It's Fred again from Notes of a Nomad. Video number 304. Today, I want to talk what about education? You'd say, why you want to talk about education? What's that got to do with me? Well, everyone has an opinion about education. If you really ask when I went to school, or my children going to school, or my grandchildren going to school, everyone seems to have an opinion if you ask them what should we be doing in education. Just wanted to discuss a couple things that I thought it's probably along the line of overall about education, not specifics. When I talk about overall, I think number one, education can have a big impact on a country and on any community. When I was in Africa, I remember visiting a country and there was really bad conditions there. And I looked around and said, this is bad. The poor average person is struggling and suffering. And I thought, gee, what's the solution? I thought about it for a while and I said, the only thing I can think about is the people need education. If they knew some options and possibilities, they wouldn't accept the nonsense that they're going through. So perhaps that is one of the reasons education has always been important to me. And I said, because it can have an impact. Now, education has changed over the, couple of hundred years or so that it's been around. Originally, it was for the Industrial Revolution, and we're beyond that now. So some of the techniques we're still using in some places in education are sort of outmoded, and the changes are required. I don't know what the changes are, but uh, the fellow who started Alibaba, Jack Ma, he was in education. That's his background. And the one thing he said, which struck me as being reasonable, was we've got to change from a knowledge-based system to a wisdom-based education system. So what does that mean? Well, to me, this is what I think. The knowledge-based system is where we, you know, e- have to memorize things, prepare for exams, get to know all this knowledge and regurgitate it and remember it. Well, with technology today, computers remember much more than we'll ever remember. So I wonder if that's really a good style, which Jack Ma was saying, that's the knowledge base. In fact, when I was in Nepal a couple of years ago, I noticed, wow, the students there, exam after exam. They go to school 6 days a week, and the one day they theoretically have off is Saturday. But I was even in some schools on Saturdays, and they were there, and I said, "What are you doing?" "Oh, we're preparing for exams." And I have a young girl who often joins one of the meetings I am, and how is he? She's talking quite often. "Oh, I got to prepare for my exams," and it's very exam based, and the marks are so important. And I could tell you stories about what some of the students had told me, what it was like going to different schools and how they just crammed for exams and the preparation. Now, that probably isn't the best. That's probably what I would say, what Jack Ma would say, knowledge base. Wisdom base is where you change and you think and you're critical thinking and you learn and you study things in a different way, not to memorize them, but to understand them. Now, one good example that I can think of is in Finland. Finland, it's very different. It certainly isn't a exam-based system. In fact, they have very few exams. The students go to school, they start at a later age, so they go less years to school. There's less exams, there are less hours at school. There's less, if any, homework in some cases. And yet their students are above average. In fact, there was a study done by the OECD, I think it's Organization Economic and um, Community Development and a cooperative development, whatever it is, OECD. They did a study of 31 countries of adults, not students. And the adults in Finland are the sort of the best in literacy, numeracy, problem solving, critical thinking. Those are more particularly those aspects and lifelong learning, that's more of, I'd say, the wisdom based. And the other thing about Finland that I think is very important is teachers are considered professionals. To be a teacher, you need a master's degree, no matter what grade you're teaching. And yet, to get in to become a teacher, because you're a professional, you're like a doctor, a lawyer, you have a high status in the community if you're a school teacher, and you're well paid and well looked after because it's important. So that is a very good element because a lot of teachers in almost most countries are not well paid. They don't have high status, and it's a very challenging job. It's not an easy job. So that's one thing I'd say that Finland is doing right as well, is the way they treat teachers. So with that, I'd say in general, education can have a big impact. And in Canada, I think we're doing reasonably well. We have each province has its own Department of Education. And such a big country, it makes so much sense to me. If you tried to say every student in throughout Canada had to learn the same subjects in the same exams, I don't think that would work too well. If you just look at the diversity in this country from East Coast to West Coast, from South up to the Arctic, you cannot expect students to learn the same. So you want to have different education systems dealing with the requirements of what's going on in different parts of the country. So the other thing I recall, the difference that Jack Ma said about, the knowledge base, it's very competitive. You got the person who gets the highest marks. Whereas what's going on with the wisdom base, it's more collaborative, helping each other be the best they can be. And that's not as competitive, it's more collaborative, which I think is very important for any community, for any country, for any economy. So that's what I wanted to say about education. Everyone has an opinion. So my opinion is let's invest in our people, in our educators, in our teachers, and our students, and let them become wisdom based because artificial intelligence is coming and how that can impact it as well. In fact, it's been suggested that artificial intelligence can almost become tutors. Each student could have an individual artificial intelligence tutor. Now, that will have to be managed, and that's where our educators can possibly manage the students' wisdom-based education with the help of artificial intelligence, for example. Whatever they decide works best for them. So that's my thoughts on education, probably one of the most important elements in any community in any country is our educators for of our students, of our future leaders. So with that, I say adios, au revoir, wishing you, your family, and friends lots of love and laughter. And I'm sure you have your opinions about education. So adios, bye for now from Fred and Notes of a Nomad. Till next time.